Kirby as a franchise needs no introduction, except I'm giving it one anyway. Debuting on the Game Boy in 1992, it would quickly spiral into one of Nintendo's most popular and beloved franchises, being praised for its easy, simple, yet still fun gameplay. But one game in particular is considered the best of the best, the pinnacle of the series, Kirby Superstar. The first Kirby game on the Super Nintendo that wasn't golf or Puyo Puyo. This game saw a lot of praise on release and had a major impact on the franchise. Many elements introduced in this game are still used to this day in newer Kirby games, but has it still held up nowadays? Let's find out. But first, some background information. Also to clarify, this video is focusing solely on the original Kirby Superstar, not its remake on DS because I haven't played that yet. Might make a future video on it at a later time. Kirby was the brainchild of Masahiro Sakurai. He wanted a game that could be easy to pick up and play for more inexperienced gamers. Dreamland was a massive success, selling over 5 million copies, and thus 2 sequels were made, Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Dreamland 2, which both expanded on the Kirby formula with new additions such as copy abilities, yes, copy abilities weren't in the first game, and Animal Friends respectively. Development began a while after Adventure's release. Sakurai said he had 2 main goals for Superstar, which were two-player co-op, which was suggested by Miyamoto, and making a game with an omnibus format. Sakurai felt there were too many games coming out that took ages to complete, and designed Superstar to be the antithesis to this, with multiple quick-to-beat campaigns. Superstar was released for the SNES in March of 1996 in Japan, in September of 1996 in the States, and January of 1997 in Europe, where it was known as Kirby's Fun Pack because Europe hates Superstars apparently. It was one of the last Nintendo published games for the console, which is weirdly a theme for a lot of games in this franchise. Now, the Western box art for Superstar is great. I love Beam Kirby's little gesture hat, and I really like the game's logo, but the Japanese art is really unique. The box was made to look like paulownia, a type of wood that has great symbolic value in Japan. Using it helps show that this game is special and unlike most other SNES games. I wish we saw more creative box art like this nowadays. Now onto the gameplay. Although different game modes may have different mechanics and objectives, the base gameplay stays the same throughout all modes. As Kirby, you run, jump, and can puff yourself up, which lets you float in the air. You can also inhale enemies. Floating is a bit different compared to other games. In previous games, you just have to hold up and you automatically float. In this game, you press the jump button while in the air to float. Getting hit takes away a portion of your health, and running out of health kills you, and you have to restart the part of the level you died in. Eating food can restore your health, and getting an invincibility candy makes you, well, take a guess. The Animal Friends from Dreamland 2 don't return. Instead, this game focuses on expanding on the copy ability introduced in Adventure. Most enemies will give Kirby a copy ability when inhaled based on that enemy's attributes. For example, inhaling these flame roots will net you their fire ability. There are 25 abilities in Superstar, about half of which are returning abilities from Adventure, and half of them are new to this game. Sadly, not everything from Adventure made the cut. All you will be missed. I won't go in-depth into every ability, but they give you a variety of ways of dealing damage to enemies, including freezing, hammering, slicing, slamming, or bleeding their ears to death. My favorite one is Bomb.
Jerry! There's a bomb strapped to my...
It's an amazing ability thanks to its great range and how quickly you can spam throw them. Most bosses in this game are a complete joke with Bomb. Not all copy abilities are that good, but most of them are fun to use and help keep the gameplay fresh and interesting. This is the first game to give all of Kirby's abilities a unique hat, which carry over with most later games. Some of them even change its color. Also, I love all the little icons on the bottom HUD that denote what ability you have. These have so much charm, and I wish they kept them instead of the simple icons that later games would use. If there's one thing Superstar has a lot of, it's charm. In previous games, abilities only had one action that could be performed, but in Superstar, abilities have multiple actions which can be performed by using certain button combos. Take the beam ability. Its beam whip is its regular attack, but it also has a cycle beam that can be used while running, a more powerful beam whip when right next to an enemy, or a charged up long-range beam that goes across the screen. All this helps makes the game feel more involved than its predecessors. Superstar also co-op in the form of the helpers. Pressing A lets you get rid of your ability and turn it into a helper. This little character based on the ability you just had. They help you with combat, and a second player can also hop in and control them. They can be quite handy if you need help with a tough boss or something. Superstar isn't super hard or anything, but some stages and bosses can be quite the challenge, especially compared to other Kirby games. But I'm also just bad at video games, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Now graphically speaking, Superstar nails it. The game has a CG art style that I really dig. It fits the Kirby series really well. The developers make great use of the SNES's increased color potential to make Kirby's world shine. My one complaint is that sometimes it can be hard to make out what's a wall and what's a background element, which happened to me a few times. Superstar has a very unique structure compared to most platformers. Instead of there being one overarching story mode, the game is split into smaller campaigns that explore a variety of gameplay styles. You start with just 4 of these modes, but unlock more as you progress. I know some people aren't a fan of this structure because they think this makes the game modes feel too short and underdeveloped, but I personally don't mind it. I think most game modes don't overstay their welcome and are paced well. First up, we have Spring Breeze. King DDD and his goons have stolen all of Dreamland's food, and it's up to Kirby to get it before everyone starves. Spring Breeze is an abridged remake of the original Kirby's Dream Land. The game has updated graphics and adds to copy abilities, but shortens the levels down and straight up omits the game's second stage, Castle Lololo, although its boss fight is still here, as well as stage 3's fight with Kapula, this blimp dude who you fight with the mint leaf power up. From that, it's just Dreamland on the Super Nintendo. You still go through green greens, float islands, and bubbly clouds, fighting the boss at the end of each stage, and you still beat King DDD in a boxing match, except this time Mario and Luigi are here. Fun fact, this game introduced the modern King DDD theme used in all later games. It adds an additional part that wasn't present in his Dreamland 1 and 2 theme. Originally, Spring Breeze was going to have no copy abilities to be more faithful to the original game, but this idea was scrapped. I honestly wish they did that because there's not much that really separates Spring Breeze from the next one I'm about to talk about. It would also make the game more challenging. Spring Breeze really is the perfect thing for this mode, because that's what playing it feels like, a breeze. You can beat it in around 10 minutes if you're fast enough. Even by Kirby's standards, this mode is a cakewalk, but to be fair, it's just meant to be a tutorial mode for beginners, so I can only complain so much. Up next is Dynablade. Dynablade, this big-ass bird, is destroying all of Dreamland's crops, and Kirby needs to stop her. This mode is structured similarly to Mario 3. You choose levels via a world map, and there are even enemies that can appear there, just like the hammer builds in 3. There's also 2 hidden rooms that contain copy abilities. I really wish I had more to say, but it's just Spring Breeze, except the levels are longer and harder, which makes them more fun to play. At the end, you fight Dynablade, a bird who I wouldn't be surprised was part of the design inspiration for Ho-Oh from Pokemon. But after defeating her, Kirby realizes she was only trying to feed her chicks. So Kirby makes amends with Dynablade by letting her chicks eat Wispy Wood's apples and teaching them to fly, so they can find their own food. It's a very sweet ending, although Wispy Wood probably wouldn't agree with that. Gourmet Race tasks you with beating DDD in a foot race on 3 courses while also collecting more food than him. Course 1 is a straight dash to the finish, Course 2 adds more platforming, and the final course lets you use some abilities like the new jet power-up. Fun mode, although it's a bit too short in my opinion, and additional 2 to 3 stages would have made it feel more complete. There's also no multiplayer in the original SNES version, which is a bummer. Gourmet Race also gave us one of the most legendary themes in gaming. This theme is so good, it's been remixed in Smash Bros. And many Kirby games to come. Since I'm talking about music, Kirby Superstar has a fantastic soundtrack. From remixes of old themes like Float Islands to all new ones like Candy Mountain and Coca Cave. It's all a blessing to the ears and the best Kirby OST up to this point. The Great Cave Offensive is a Metroidvania style mode. Kirby is going on a mining trip but falls in a pit and must make his way out while collecting as much treasure as he can. There are 4 different open-ended areas here for Kirby to explore and search for treasure, as well as plenty of bosses to fight. There are 60 treasures to collect, many of which are references to other Nintendo franchises like Zelda, Earthbound, and F-Zero, which is neat. A lot of these treasures are hidden very well or require a certain ability, so you need a keen eye to collect them all. I like the added emphasis on exploration. Kirby works surprisingly well in more open levels. This whole mode is a fun time. Revenge of Meta Knight chronicles Kirby's quest to stop Meta Knight and his crew from using his airship, the Halberd, to take over Dreamland and put an end to the residents' lazy lifestyle. This is the most story-driven mode in Superstar. While playing, Meta Knight and his crew will make comments on the situation. It's funny watching them go from confident as they will defeat Kirby at the beginning, the more desperate and panicky the more you destroy the ship. Revenge in general has a very tense atmosphere. Every stage has a timer that's counting down. The timer is pretty generous, so it's unlikely you actually time over, but it does encourage you to move quickly through the stages. Revenge also probably has the hardest stages out of any campaign. All of this alongside some totally radical music. This mode starts with Kirby landing on the halberd right before it's set to take off, but the ship takes off right as Kirby is fighting heavy lobster on the outside of the ship, sending Kirby plummeting down to the ground. This is a great opening stage, getting knocked off the halberd after storming in there, destroying everything motivates you to make it back up. After a few short stages on the ground, you fly back up to the halberd with the help of Dynablade. Once here, you make your way through the airship, destroying its parts along the way, and having a final duel with Meta Knight before escaping off on a wheelie. This moment shows how honorable Meta Knight is. The halberd is literally about to sink into the ocean, but he still waits for Kirby to pick up the sword in order to make it a fair fight. Although, if you just wait for 30 seconds, the fight will start anyway. This is my favorite mode because of how action-focused it is, and I like the dialogue from Meta Knight's crew. Also, the ending is peak. Finally, we have Milky Way Wishes, the last mode of the game and fittingly the longest one too. In the year the sun and moon fight day after day for control of the sky, which threatens the safety of Popstar. Marx, this cute, completely innocent jester guy, suggests that Kirby travel to other planets so that he can find stars that awaken the giant wish-granting comet Nova, and put an end to the cosmic conflict. Like Dynablade, there's a world map, although this one is much more open-ended and lets you tackle the levels in any order. The biggest change is that Kirby cannot receive copy abilities from enemies in this mode. He instead must find copy essences, these trophies that give Kirby a specific copy ability. Once Kirby gets one of these, he has that ability for good and can select it from the pods menu if he loses it. He can also swap abilities on the fly, very handy for some boss fights. It's fine and works for this mode, but it's still pretty surreal playing a Kirby game where inhaling enemies gives you nothing. Milky Way Wishes is also the only mode where this dumbass copy ability is useful because you can't inhale things. Yes, they added a copy ability as a joke. These developers are crazy. The levels all reuse and combine themes and assets from all the previous modes. For example, Hot Heat combines the magma segment of Coca Cave with the minecarts from the Great Cave Offensive. Plus, the level design is different, so it doesn't feel like a complete repeat. After collecting all the stars, Kirby heads to Nova to make his wish, but right before he can, Mark puts Kirby out of the way, which is that he can control Popstar, causing him to turn into his true form, this terrific demon with wings. Kirby uses the stars he collected to form the starship and heads inside Nova's body to destroy him via the shoot 'em up segment, because it wouldn't be a Kirby final boss without a little shooting action. You fly inside Nova's body and must destroy all these barriers so you can shut down his heart. It's pretty fun, but it's not over yet, as you still have one final fight with Marx in this equally fun battle. There's no hybrid zone, but this is still some good stuff. He's got some crazy attacks like this mega laser that takes up half the screen, and this black hole that he creates by splitting his body apart. The funny thing is, this isn't even the most disturbing final boss in the series. Beating Milky Way unlocks one final mode, the Arena, a boss rush where you must fight all the bosses and mini-bosses in a row without dying. You fight all the bosses in a randomized order, except Marx, who's always the last boss, and you can pick any ability at the start. In between bosses is this hub where you can pick 2 randomly selected abilities or heal up with a max tomato. The game generously gives you 5 tomatoes, but some of these fights can still be a struggle if you don't know the strategies to defeat them. Like this boss fight that's a funny parody of RPGs was giving me a lot of trouble until I learned about this wonderful thing called the art button and it became a lot easier. Beating the arena unlocks the sound test. Those are all the main modes, but there's also 2 sub-games to talk about. Sub-games have been a tradition of the series ever since Adventure. It's to the point where some of these sub-games have gotten their own dedicated games. Megaton Punch is a button timing game where you need to hit the power gauge at the right time to unleash a more powerful punch than your opponent. It's fun timing the gauge just right, and I love the animation of Popstar getting cracked in half from the punch. Samurai Kirby is basically the quick draw sub-game from Adventure, except with a samurai theme. Press A at the correct time before your opponent does. I swear some of the latest changes are impossible though. Regardless, both modes are a fun distraction. So, has Kirby Superstar aged well? Definitely. This game introduced so much to the franchise, from locations like the halberd, the copy abilities having more than one action. This game and Adventure paved the way for nearly all future mainline games. and the game itself is still incredibly fun even today, with great visuals, fun new mechanics, and creative levels that keep the gameplay fresh, while not abandoning what made Kirby fun in the first place. Truly a sequel done right, and one of the best games on the SNES. But still, I didn't have the ball ability, so I'll have to knock it down a few points.